What was Gershon's question?
So here's my question.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I remember your question.
Classic start for Rebecca.
how do you determine whether you keep 1 day or 2 days of Yom Tov in Israel when you're there for a Chag?
Generally speaking, the rule of thumb is that you're supposed to keep 2 days unless you have unless you spend every Yom Tov in Israel. If you go to Israel for Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuos, then you only have to keep 1 day Yom Tov. If you go less than 3 times a year,
What if you go Sukkot and Pesach every year?
no, it doesn't count. You have to go Shavuos too. All three. I heard Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Paskin for somebody that at Shavuos, as long as if you have a family, you don't have to take the whole family for Shavuos. You only have to tell the father has to go for Shavuos, and then the rest of the family can keep 1 day Sukkot and Pesach as well.
I heard from Schwab last year.
In the States?
What?
In the States?
No. No, they go to Israel.
I heard from Schwab last year that in order to be Yotze only 1 day, you have to have own the property in Israel.
It's not true. You don't have to own a property.
Where is that from? Where's that halacha come from? That you have to be there all 3.
Not true.
You have to have a kvius, a permanence in Eretz Yisrael in order to keep 1 day, right? So the permanence is normally established by residency. But if somebody is, in the old days when people were ola l'regel on a constant basis, there's no record that anybody ever kept 2 days, right? So therefore, our assumption is that back then, since everybody who came 3 times a year, to come 3 times a year is considered to be a kvius, a permanence for the purpose of 1 day.
So then, what if somebody from Israel is in America? Does he have to keep 2 days or 1 day?
In theory, he only has to keep 1 day, but as long as he's in a Jewish community, he has to keep the 2nd day as well.
That would be really weird to me.
Right. He can't keep since it's a Mar Zion issue. He has to keep 2 days, at least in public. If it's in a Jewish community, even in private, he has to do it in order not to undermine the general character of Yom Tov. There is a shita which I follow when I go to Israel for Yom Tov. On those when that happens usually once every 7 years. Where since my father-in-law is a professor, so every 7th year he has a sabbatical, and then the family gets to go to Israel for Pesach. So, for instance, I got married; it's happened 3 times.
21 years? That's it?
No, I've been married more than 21 years.
I was going to say,
but not that much more.
Can't be that much more.
So, the
Rabbi's only like 28.
yeah, I wish. This shita is called, not erroneously. It really shouldn't be called this, but it's called a day and a half. So the day and
Brisk, right? That's
the day and a half shita is. It was actually the Minhag Yerushalayim, and I assume that the Britzkers adopted that for Minhag Yerushalayim. The reason, the source for that is that the Chacham Tzvi, who was no slouch, held that you're not allowed to keep 2 days in Israel. So you can keep 2 days in Israel, you are transgressing Baal Tosif, adding a day of Yom Tov to when it's not appropriate to do so. So therefore, the Chacham Tzvi always held 1 day. So in order all the other poskim hold, it's not going to be Baal Tosif because you're doing it because of your minhag in Chutz La'aretz. It's not because you're being mechadesh something new in Eretz Yisrael. You're still retaining your minhag of Chutz La'aretz. But since there is the Chacham Tzvi who says not that way, so therefore what you do is you refrain from malachos, but you daven a weekday davening. And that covers all bases, because in terms of being Mechal Yom Tov, not being Mechal Yom Tov. In terms of davening, you're certainly not saying Brachas Levatola because that's what everybody else is davening in Israel at that time. What? You would not put on tefillin. You would put on tefillin. Well, Chol Moed, nobody in Israel puts on tefillin. So Chol Moed is out no matter what.
That's the question.
So put on tefillin. You put on tefillin in private.
in America you put tefillin.
Where Chol Moed? Yes, but not in Israel.
Oh, so it depends on your like.
In Israel, they follow the minhag of even for Ashkenazim is minhag hagra, and that's where it's from Cholamoid.
So if right now, for example, I was going to go to Israel, so I'm a citizen, right? I can only keep 1 day, okay?
You're what?
If I'm a citizen,
No, it's nothing to do with that.
why not?
Citizens has nothing to do with halacha.
If I go to the
You don't care
yeshiva,
about the passport?
so if I go to yeshiva for a year, will that be counted?
No,
Why not? Whole year.
because you're still going to come back to America.
Maybe Mashiach's going to come. I don't know.
What?
Maybe Mashiach's going to come.
Maybe Mashiach's going to come. Right. So then what you should do is to keep the day and a half shita.
But that's like cheating code?
No, it's a chumrah. It's a chumrah in order to avoid Baal Tosif. So it gets very complicated by the Seder though. Because
when we're in Israel, we're keeping 2 days because of a minhag that started from being in Chutzars, but when you're no longer there, you still keep the minhag as a tradition.
right.
Okay.
We can do nothing.
We do Navi.
No, probably.
No, I had another question.
Fine.
Why can't we do Navi?
Didn't I have a question before?
What? You had a question last night, but no, not you. Shlomo had a question. He's not here. So,
Let's talk about it anyways.
I don't remember what the question was. So, you're up the creek. I'm sorry.
We didn't have a question.
Why are you so desperate to avoid doing Navi? It's not so bad.
Let's do
It's
nothing.
funny to do other random things.
What? And therefore what? It is bad to do Navi if I'm on camera? Can you please give me a Navi?
Alright. Please take a question. Please take a question.
I have a question. Somebody sells tombstones for a Jewish community. Is he allowed to pray that it's parnasa? Not it's parnasa. It's business. Will be better.
It's a good question.
Not as parnasa. Parnasa can come from anywhere, but it's business.
It's a good question. I guess not. I guess not.
Why should you work this?
What?
Why should you work this?
Why should what?
Why should you work in this field then?
Why? It's an important field. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You could ask the same question for hospitals, huh?
Hospital safety.
What page?
We are on page.
Did you just talk about the thing, the place, and the Toronto place in Borough Park today?
The what place?
The Borough Park place in
Bar Park place. Interesting.
They said they're accused of selling shaved hot dogs.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay.
Hot dogs. I don't think they sold it.
No comment?
What am I supposed to say?
I actually never.
They're going to burn in hell.
No.
Is that not what it's supposed to
No,
say?
they didn't. They didn't tell me. Just the guy somehow sneaked them in, so they fired him.
Oh, so they won't burn in hell.
Okay.
Great.
Isn't that the whole point of having,
Everything's fine.
isn't that the whole point of having Mashiach?
And what?
Isn't the whole point of having Mashiach so
what
that
page,
you,
Rabbi?
what, you make sure the going don't?
Mashgiach.
Make sure going don't want.
Isn't it?
No, you said Mashiach.
Oh, Mashgiach. Oh.
Yes.
I was wondering how Mashiach came into this. Yes, but the Mashgiachim don't always do their job with the proper...
So then it's problem with Mashiach, is it?
Are they supposed to pat down the guys in the hot dog search?
No.
Well, they're supposed to make sure that the hot dogs come from the pre-packaged ones and not from loose hot dogs.
It's pretty intense if you're opening up a package like every 10 minutes.
There's a loch like that. It's called basar shenisalim min ha'ayin. Meat which is not subject to your visual inspection. So that's what they're supposed to do. What can I tell you? They're very often there are scandals and kashrus all the time, and it's very depressing. But ultimately, the good news is that if there was a reliable mashgiach and he didn't do his job, so he's burning and not you. So it makes us feel any better.
Rabbi, what is okay? How can you be
What is it called again?
awesome joy and still have brains? Or still
Why are we going back to this now?
Rabbi, what page?
Because I'm wondering, how is it possible to at the same time as not thinking and just being like, yay, still actually have like an intellect or a brain within you that like actually. Is there any? Are you sacrificing all of your thought processes by going to Awesome Joy is what I'm asking.
What are you talking about?
Why?
Because by Awesome Joy, basically, isn't it like you just like, whenever you start thinking about something that might not be great, you just like say Awesome Joy and forget about it?
Well, it doesn't mean that if you're thinking about a difficult Gemara, you say for awesome joy and go on to the next Gemara.
But like, let's say you're thinking about something difficult, you have to judge somebody favorably. Wouldn't it like stop you from going and judging someone favorably if you just say Awesome Joy and forget about it?
Why? If I'm a joyous, of course I'm going to judge people favorably.
I suppose.
We're desperate, aren't we?
Been here for that sure. Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday, yeah.
Everyone's talking about it. I've heard
Yesterday was the.
Oh, no. It was on Shabbos.
Awesome Joy.
Awesome Joy was on Shabbos.
I've heard like so many people talking about this Awesome Joy.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, that's they was just a
Don't
follower.
miss too much, don't worry.
It was life changing.
Yeah. Depressed.
Well, what is your name, by the way?
Yosha.
How long have you been in Rosamel?
A day.
A day. Oh, okay. That explains why you missed it.
I'm only here for a week.
Where are you visiting from?
Tucson, Arizona.
Very nice.
Joy.
Okay.
I came here last Purim. I don't know if you remember me.
Last Purim, I wasn't so drunk. I should remember you. But,
There's also a group from Arizona. I don't know if you remember. Fine. We were learning here for a week. It was fun.
okay, great. Welcome back. Okay, so we're talking about here the son of Dan was the son of Gidon. Avimelech took over the king took over after Gidon's death. And he actually appointed himself the king over Israel. So if they ever ask you who the first king was, it was Avimelech. Thing is, he wasn't king over all of Israel. He was only king over the area of Shechem. He didn't get to be king over all of Israel. But he was the first king in Jewish history.
What is this? I've never seen this book.
This is Sefer Shoftim, with my commentary. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I think we're using this obscure book here.
That's why I've never seen it.
So what happened was that one of Avimelech killed all of his brothers, 670 in number. There was one left, Yosam, and Yosam went and gave the people of Shechem this parable in which he said that nobody was going to be king, nobody would volunteer to be king among the trees except for the thorn bush. And the thorn bush said, if you wanted me to be your king, you have to come and dwell in my shade. So he said that you, the people of Shechem, have chosen his brother Abimelech to be the king. You're going to have to live with the consequences, so to speak, in the shade of the thorn bush. And now Yosem goes on and says, what kind of wickedness was involved here in what the people of Shechem did, because they cooperated with Avimelech, who killed 70 sons of Gidon. And we're up to Pasuk Yud Zayin. Asher nucham avi alechem, my father fought for you. Vayashlechas nafsho mineged, and he tossed the soul away, so to speak. Vayatzal eschem yam Midian, and he saved you from the hands of Midian. Vatem kamtem al beis avi hayom, and you rose up against my father's house today. Vatargu es banav, and you killed his son, shivim ish, 70 people, al emen achas, on one stone. Vatamlichus Avimelech ben Amaso, and he took Avimelech, who was the son of his maidservant. Seems that Gidon's relationship with Avimelech's mother was not so legitimate.
Why does it say 11?
Because they did it like they slaughtered one after another on the same stone. This makes it more gruesome. Because he is your brother. In other words, you took him even though he wasn't worthy because he grew up in Shechem among you. And if in truth and in innocence, you did what he did with Yerubal, which was Gidon's other name, being based with his household, Hayom Hazeh, today. Simchu b'Avimelech, you rejoice in Avimelech, Yismak amu b'chem, and he'll rejoice in you as well. V'mayim, but if not, Teitzei eish Avimelech, a fire shall come out of Avimelech, v'sochas b'alei Shechem, and consume the householders of Shechem, Beis Milo, and the neighboring city of Beis Milo. V'teitzei eish b'alei Shechem, and a fire shall go out from the householders of Shechem, Beis Milo, v'tochas Avimelech, and consume Avimelech. Vayonas Yosam, Vayivrach, Vayelech Be'era. Yosem then fled to a place called Be'er. Vayeshev Sham Ibnei Avimelech, and remained there because he was afraid of Avimelech, his brother. So Vayosar, Avimelech Haiso Sholosh Shanim. Avimelech controlled, Sar is an officer. He would control the Jewish people. It seems that he extended not just his rule didn't just extend to Shechem. Eventually, it seems he got to the rest of the Jewish people some way, and this lasted for 3 years. Vayosar means he imposed his authority on the Jewish people for 3 years. But then, after 3 years, we're on top of page Kuf Chav Zayin. Vayishlach Elokim Ruach Roha ben Avimelech ben Baalei Shechem. Hashem sent a negative spirit, a bad spirit, a spirit of strife between Avimelech and the householders of Shechem. Vayivgedu Baalei Shechem Avimelech, and the householders of Shechem were treasonous. Begidah is treason against Avimelech. Lavo Hamas, and this happened. This is the Navi commenting. This was in order to bring about the injustice of Shivim Bnei Yerubal, the 70 sons of Gideon V'Domam, and their blood. Lasuma Avimelech Achihem, to put that on Avimelech, their brother, Asher Horag Osam, who killed them. Baalei Baal Baalei Shechem, and on the household of Hashem, Asher Chizku Es Yadav, who supported him, literally strengthened his hand, Larog Es Achav, to kill his brother. So here it would seem that Hashem specifically wanted to take retribution from Avimelech during Avimelech's lifetime. Even though, normally, we say there's no judgment in this world. The judgment is in the world to come. And it's not necessarily, people don't necessarily get punishment for their Averos in this world. Here, there's an exception. Here, Hashem made an exception to the rule and had the Avimelech specifically punished in this world. Now, it could be because Yosam cursed Avimelech in this way, but also because it's quite possible and likely that it's because of the Chilul Hashem, which was involved here. Because Avimelech went and did such a terrible sin, and for Hashem to let that stand in this world would be unconscionable. He can't do that, because that would indicate a lack of divine providence in the world. So if somebody commits a terrible, terrible crime, we would expect Hashem to punish him even in this world in order to right the Chilul Hashem that happened.
I mean, I'm just going to say that argument, there's been plenty of horrible people who've gotten off scot-free in this world. I mean, it seems that...
It all depends on the amount of Chilul Hashem which is involved.
What about that doctor, Mengele? Did the Nazi experiments?
Mengele?
Yeah, that's what's his name? Never caught.
Yeah.
He still lives somewhere.
No, he drowned many years ago.
Who says?
They found out that he drowned in the 70s.
Well, there were many other Nazi guys who were hiding everything.
Right, because not necessarily Chilul Hashem. Not every single Nazi is a major Chilul Hashem. The major Chilul Hashem is people like Hitler and those people who ran and orchestrated everything. Himmler got caught. He committed suicide. Yeah.
They probably killed him.
Yeah, he would have probably committed suicide anyways, even if they hadn't done the whole World War II thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people in history who've profited, even though they've been horrible.
Is that offensive?
And the argument generally is that they won't be that their punishment will come in the world to come, which is an infinite longer.
Listen, somebody for example like Bernie Madoff. You don't have to punish him in this world. We can wait to the world to come. Why? Because although he did very bad things and he actually gave a bad name to the Jews, it wasn't the Chilul Hashem in the same way as this one person coming and killing his 70 brothers and becoming the first king over Israel. Okay? Bernie Madoff's position had nothing to do with the Jewish people per se. This guy, Avimelech, was the first king of the Jews. You can't let that go. Yes. And that's why throughout the time of the first base... And that's on camera.
Awesome joy.
Awesome joy. Awesome joy. That's throughout the time, the first base I made. What?
It made you feel better.
That's right, it works. Throughout the time of the first base Hamikdash, when there were thank you. Throughout the time of the first base Hamikdash, when there were kings in Israel, so there was constantly, God was sending prophets and killing them off left and right. Sending prophets, assassins, all sorts of cool stuff went on at the time of the first Beis HaMikdash. Why is that? Because since all this was very public and very much a chilul Hashem, so therefore Hashem sent public punishments for it. The same thing was true in the second Beis HaMikdash. You know, the Chashmonaim, they got their comeuppance. Why did they get their comeuppance? Also because they usurped the kingship. So there are all sorts of things which are public and national, which Hashem takes care of. And I mention this example all the time, so I'm sure many of you have heard this from me. But in terms of the Second World War, obviously there is a connection. We don't understand why it's connected, and we don't understand why God did it this way. But there's an obvious connection between the Holocaust and the founding of the State of Israel. There's no way there could have been a State of Israel without a Holocaust, and the Holocaust directly led to that state being founded. So therefore, we don't know why it should be that way, but that's the Kiddush Hashem which balanced out the Chilul Hashem of the Holocaust. In a certain way. Do you understand what I'm saying there? Okay? There always has to be this balance. The reason why there has to be this balance, by the way, there's several reasons, but the primary reason is in order to retain free will. Because the moment you skew the balance towards Chilul Hashem over Kiddush Hashem, free will goes out the window. Right? You don't have, the odds are stacked against you. How are you going to recognize that?
Well, odds are always stacked in various ways. That doesn't mean...
What do you mean? When they're stacked against you?
You always have... Sometimes things are going for you, sometimes...
That's not in terms of your emunah.
Sure. Oh, you're saying... I'm not... Can you explain?
It's not in terms of your belief in God. In other words, sometimes things go rotten for you in life, and it's a big bummer, right. But that doesn't impinge on your belief in God. This, if there were to the desecration of God's name in the world, then your belief in God would suffer as a result.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily yours, because you believe very, very greatly. But somebody who doesn't believe as much, you try and make somebody about tshuva, and he sees that there's so much wickedness in the world and so much desecration of God's name, why should he ever come about tshuva?
Rabbi,
Wait, it's not finished yet.
It seems to me that that argument still holds with hunger. There's a lot of hunger in the world, so someone could see that and say there's no evidence.
No. Because the hunger in the world is not something where there's a direct cause and effect with God. Usually hunger has to do with either weather, right, climate, or with warfare, or with some sort of other man-made disaster.
Weather's not man-made.
So, no, weather I know it's not, but I'm saying, or some man-made like Darfur, something like that, where it's man-made because of war or whatever. So God's people are not directly involved in that. God's people are the Jews, and they represent Hashem in this world, and therefore if they are not punished for their wrongdoing, and conversely not rewarded for their doing good, so then the balance suffers, because people are not going to be able to say, oh, the Jews are so special, it must be that God exists. And that's supposed to be one of the proofs of God. Do you see what I'm saying?
You're saying
that there's ambiguity in the subject?
Sorry?
That there's ambiguity in the subject is a proof of God?
That what?
That there's an ambiguity in the subject of whether...
No, that Jews are rewarded when they do good, and they suffer when they do bad, is a divine sign of divinity.
Oh. And if
right?
that weren't true, then
I don't know how you
free will would
measure
be.
what they're doing.
It seems like that wouldn't be linked to free will, but it would instead be linked to the ability to see Hashem.
Isn't that the same thing?
No.
Yeah.
It depends on, well, in absolute terms, yes, but anything less than
okay, that's all I need.
There you go.
Well, I mean, in absolute terms.
I mean, in the fact that if Hashem was absolutely visible, then it would destroy our free will, and if Hashem was absolutely invisible.
It's got to be a 50-50 balance.
Why does it have to be exactly 50-50?
Because otherwise it's not fair.
Life isn't fair.
What do you mean life is not fair? Anything which has to do with your free will is fair. Is your will shackled in any way?
No.
No. Just because you might be, have other unfair aspects to your life. You don't like who your parents are. You don't like your appearance. You don't like how much money you have. You don't like the town in which he put you. There can be many things which are, so to speak, unfair.
Right.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something which impinges, detracts from your capacity to think freely and will freely.
Right. And
Have you ever heard of Viktor Frankl?
I've heard. I can't think of who it is.
Does anybody here know who Viktor Frankl was?
Is it Robert Frankel?
No. Viktor Frankl was a famous Austrian psychotherapist who went through the Second World War in a concentration camp. He wasn't from. He went through the Second World War in a concentration camp, and he wrote a very famous book called, initially it was called From Death Camp to Existentialism, and then it was later changed to Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh.
Very famous book. So Man's Search for Meaning is about how a person's will is even free and he can find meaning in a concentration camp.
Yeah, I read one line of it. No, I think I'll give you the example. The example was that...
The line from Nietzsche?
What?
Oh, never mind.
When the Jews went to concentration camps, even the ones that had a little piece of bread, they still shared a little bit with it with their inmates.
Right.
He said that they could take everything but not the free will of man.
Right.
So I think that was the same.
That's the idea. That's right. So
how, I just don't see how it's linked to the ability to think freely, to have a free will.
if creation, one of God's names is Shin Daled Yud. Right? Shin Daled Yud stands for what? Anybody know?
Mighty, Mike.
No. Oh, there is one interpretation there. Shoded Marachos. Right, but there's another interpretation. Shamar lo lamo dai. He said to his world, enough. And there are two different versions of that, which are complementary to each other. One is that the one medrash says that God saw that the world was becoming too materialistic and concealing the spiritual. So he said, "Die, enough material existence, no more." The other medrash says God saw that there's too much revelation in the grandeur and majesty of creation. He said, "Enough, no more revelation." So, Sha'amar lo lamo dai, that God said to his world, enough, means there's got to be a very fine balance between revelation and concealment, between the capacity to find God and the capacity to ignore God. So that always has to be preserved throughout history.
And that's inextricably linked to the punishment and to the punishment and reward of the Jewish people.
Yes, not individual Jews per se, but the Jewish people, yeah. But say, understand, I'm sure you all know this. I think Rabbi Tauber speaks about this a lot. Everything which it says in the Chumash is said to the Jewish nation. There's nothing in the Chumash which speaks to an individual. Nothing.
As one person is a nation.
What?
Don't kill, don't steal. That's
Everybody's not supposed to kill.
okay.
It's universal.
And when it comes to Kohanim,
So it's universal for the Kohanim. It never says that if you are a good boy, I'm going to give you a lollipop.
well, you meaning those who follow the law.
It means it's always speaking to the collective you, not the individual you. Okay?
What about the things given to Adam Harishon when there's only one person?
But I'm not talking about Umbratius where we're just telling us what happened.
You're saying after...
Yeah, I'm saying when God starts telling us stuff in the
You said
Torah.
Chumash,
Yeah, it's I meant fortified.
I
Awesome joy. Yes.
When he said before that God has to keep an equal balance for you to have your choice, free will. He says a person wants to become religious and then everything goes wrong for him. Like he puts on tefillin and then like he burns his hand and he stops working on Shabbat.
That's burned from the film straps, right?
No, it's like all these accidents, like bad things start happening to him. And he wants to be religious, but sign after sign after sign, he has like negative. He loses his job. Something bad happens. His car breaks down.
That doesn't detract from your free will.
Why not? I see what's this?
If anything, that should make you more inclined to belief.
Why?
Because God is out to get me, obviously. None of these things would be happening if there wasn't a God who was out to get me. Oh, he's out to get me. Let's see why. You don't see that?
Okay, go with the example of.
What impinges on free will is if God causes you intense memory loss, or God conceals key facts from you, which should be obvious to you. That's what. Why is that so funny?
It just seems ridiculous.
Wait, so like if a guy thought he was Jewish for 25 years of his life, and then he finds out that you were adopted and you're not really Jewish.
Like for my whole life, I didn't know I had a right hand.
In fact, you got hid away from you.
What's that to do with your free will?
I don't know. Maybe
It's just a ridiculous.
What?
maybe God doesn't want you to be
It's a
Jewish.
ridiculous concept.
Maybe what?
God doesn't want you to be Jewish.
Okay, so maybe you don't have to be Jewish.
The person that's Alzheimer's, right?
I'm sorry?
The person that's Alzheimer's, he doesn't have free will.
Right, person has Alzheimer's doesn't have free will, right. Person has dementia of any sort, then obviously his free will is diminished.
Okay.
So 20% of the population is not free will.
Again, I don't.
20% of the world has dementia?
Not dementia, but they have a mental disorder.
20% of the world? Wow.
There's two people.
Well, Robert, I don't think this is
That's exactly what I was thinking. How are you right now?
I'm crazy, guys.
I still don't see how this is linked to how the Jewish punishment and merit of the Jewish people and reward of the Jewish people is linked.
The Jewish people are the representatives of God in this world.
Right.
So that's why the worst Aveira is Chil Hashem. The worst Aveira of all is desecration of God's name. Because the main mission of the Jewish people is to be alliance to nations, more specifically, God's representative to the world. Yes. So if you desecrate God's name, that's the most heinous crime. Conversely, the highest mitzvah is to do Kiddush Hashem, right? Yes. God, if the agent is not doing what he is supposed to do, so the God or whoever sent the agent in any non-divine case has to make sure that things are righted, because otherwise this mess will never be resolved. So therefore, which he is responsible for, and for which the agent is responsible to him. So therefore, that always has to be in sync and in proper coordination. And if there's an imbalance on one side, there's got to be a balance on the other side.
So if the Jewish people don't do their job well, then Hashem has to do less miracles, open miracles?
What?
If the Jewish people do their job well,
right.
Hashem has to do less
right.
miracles.
It says that the ultimate kiruv tool, the Gemara says, is, and the world, after Mashiach comes, says all the non-Jews will come up to Yerushalayim. I'm sorry, no. It says even time first of Mikdash. It said that people would come to trade with the people of Zvulun who lived on the border, and then people would come say, "Well, since we've come this far, let's go to Yerushalayim, see what it's about." And they come to Yerushalayim and they see an entire nation dressing one way, eating one way, serving God in one way, and they say, "Wow, this nation is incredible. We want to join." Where's the miracle?
Okay.
Well, where's the free will lie there? I mean, like, if you're incredibly impressed by something, like, actually, that's true. There is free will. No, never mind. So something that might turn out to be on topic, but I've been wondering about this. How is it that the Jewish people are the chosen nation? How is it that Hashem chose us if it was quite the opposite? We really chose Him. He went to all the other nations and asked them if they wanted the Torah, and then when He came to us, we said yes. So therefore,
it's not literal. It's not literal. It's not literal. God didn't go to all the other nations.
Also, in Purim, we chose Him.
He did it?
No.
That's true.
But they're supposed to understand that come before Purim.
You're supposed to understand.
That's like if he did go, that's what he would have said.
Whatever.
That's it.
He didn't choose you out nationally.
He said they have qualities, intrinsic qualities, which prevent them from being a nation which gets the Torah.
No,
You agree
the
with
whole
everything
premise
you
is
said.
based on the that they actually did go to the other nations.
No, we didn't go to the nation. Of course not.
Where's he not
What is it?
Wait, he gathered all the people in Esav and said, "Okay, guys, want the Torah?" And they said, "No." Come on.
Oh, you can't steal.
Why not?
Our
There are more fantastic midrashim than that, Rabbi.
They're all metaphors. Yeah.
Wait, every midrash can be taken at face value as well.
No.
No,
Some of them are made up.
The overwhelming majority are not to be taken at face value. There are certain midrashim which are historical, but the overwhelming majority are metaphors.
Read The Juggler and the King.
Yeah, it's an awesome book.
I know the book. I
It's
know.
got a frog like the size of the universe or something.
Right.
So what was the metaphor then? I don't understand.
The metaphor is that each of these nations didn't possess the proper characteristic to be the recipients of the Torah.
Well, Rabbi, if
You know what made us the good recipients of the Torah?
because we just didn't ask.
No.
Rabbi, everybody says that Everybody says that if we would have asked what's in it, and Hashem would have said lashon, you can't say lashon hara, we would have been like, forget it.
It's not in the Medrash.
I don't know. I heard this.
I never heard that one.
Yeah, it's a modern Medrash.
Sounds like an abortion.
That is pretty modern.
Shlomo got it right.
What?
Stiff neck.
That's why. So because we're like
Stubborn.
stubborn.
Mules.
Mules.
What is stiff necked? Like why that particular thing? Just because we won't. What does that mean? We won't turn around. We won't. Why stiff neck?
Stiff neck means you are.
Why not like stiff knee? We won't go.
No, because stiff neck.
Something else.
You know, in Hebrew, the
No, stiff knee. Like you don't bow down to
Stiff
the.
chested rabbi or stiff right arm.
can I answer?
Yes.
Why?
In Hebrew,
We're all in the awesome joy right now.
in Hebrew, to be serious is called koved rosh, heavy-headed. To be frivolous is called kalus rosh, light-headed. So Rabbi Yerucham, the Meir Machlin, says this is literal. He says not just figurative; it's literal. A person who's very serious about things, he doesn't move his head very much. He focuses on that which is in front of him.
He's a stiff neck.
No, he just doesn't.
Stiff neck. I don't know where stiff neck
Well,
comes
your
from.
neck is what moves your head.
The
so
entirety of the head it moves very slowly and deliberately.
we're all bobbleheads.
We are all affected by kalus rosh. Kalus rosh means we always turning our head back and forth to see what's going on in all directions because we're busybodies and nosy and superficial.
That makes you a limber neck.
So the cliche.
Or a lumber neck if you're going to the sun.
No, you limber up. Like doing terrible. The stiff guy is the heavy-headed who's like Gemara, Gemara, Gemara. So what's the problem?
I guess that Rabbi Yerucham didn't think about that.
No,
That's, by the way, to go like this is not the same thing as kalus rosh. Kalus rosh like this. Yeah. The
flexibility from east to west. I guess.
so Kshei Oref means that you are stubborn in the direction that you're following. In other words, your head is not just heavy to move; it is focused in one direction.
It could be a compliment too.
It is.
This is a compliment.
It is, because we're supposed to be Kshei Oref. We're supposed to take that stubbornness and that chutzpah which we possess and use it in a positive way.
Straight ahead, straight forward.
By the way, you find that also the midah of azus. Azus means brazenness, right? So it says az panim legehenim. Somebody who has a brazen face is going to burn in hell.
Oh, it's sent out.
What?
There's pshatik.
Yeah, but that's not the pshat.
Burning.
So and we say also on Yom Kippur, al chet shechatanu fanecha, the sin which we sinned to you, ba'azus metzach, with a brazen forehead. So azus is good if it's internal. And inner strength is good. Ashrei Adam, oz lo bach. Praise of the person who has strength in you, meaning that he has inner strength. Hashem oz lamo yitain. Hashem should give us that inner strength. Azus, which is extrinsic, that's bad. So the meat of azus, it depends how you use it. The meat of kshe oref also, it depends how you use it. Or every midah in this world, except according to the Rambam Kas, and according to most other sources, Gaiva, any midah can be used positively. Even Kas and Gaiva can, it's just that they're very dangerous. Okay? Who was answering with this?
Me.
What did you ask again?
Why are the chosen people?
Oh, so stiff-necked, right. So you have to be very stiff-necked and very chutzpahdik to be able to last through all the temptations and trials and persecutions which the Jews have.
Chutzpah.
Yeah.
What chutzpah they have to live?
Chutzpah is a good thing.
Yeah.
Used properly. I spent my entire school career using it improperly, but used properly, it's a good thing. Yeah. Okay. So let's go further. The householders of Shechem may put an ambush, a rasherim, on the heads of the mountains. Vayigzulu es kol asher yavorlim, and they stole from everybody passed over them. Badorech, they passed by them on the road. Vayugal, and it was told to Avimelech. So Avimelech heard that they were ambushing people. It's not clear if they were ambushing people in order to eventually get Avimelech and ambush him as well, or that they just set up an independent shop, right? They were doing banditry for the purpose of banditry. That's not clear.
The entire nation?
No, the people of Shechem.
Yeah, but he was the king of... that was the entire nation at the time, right?
What?
He was the only...
No, there's people...
Oh, I thought you said
No. Shechem was the center of it. It was like the capital, the unofficial capital, but it wasn't the entire nation. Vayavo Gal ben Evet. So Gal, the son of a slave, came. The Echov and his brothers. Vayavru b'Shechem. And they passed through Shechem. They were double agents. They're really representing Avimelech. Vayivtru Baal Baal Shechem, but the people of Shechem trusted them. Vayetzu Asadeh. So the people of Shechem went out to the fields. Vayivtzu Karmim, they harvested their vineyards. Vayidjuchu, and they pressed their grapes. Vayasu Elim, and they made praises, meaning they made wine, and by which they did their idolatrous rituals. Libations. Vayavo beis Eloki Elohem, they came to the house of their God. Vayochlu, page Kuf Chav Ches. Vayishtu, they ate and drank. Vayikalu es Avimelech, and decided they all started cursing Avimelech. Now this is a very bad policy if you have a king to start cursing him when you're drunk. But that's what they did. Vayomer Gal ben Evet egged them on. He said, Mi Avimelech, umi Shechem. Who's Avimelech and who is Shechem? Meaning, how does he lord over us? Kinav, then we should serve him. Halo Yerubal uzvu pikido. He is Yerubal and Zvul, his clerk. They served the people of Chamor, the father of Shechem. It seems that there were still elements of the non-Jewish people who lived in Shechem before the Jews conquered it, who were still there. And according to Rashi, Gal ben Evet was one of them. He was not Jewish. So he says, Gidon himself was subservient to the leaders of Shechem from the times of Chamor, before the Jews conquered the city. Why should we serve him? Right? I assume so, both the Jews and non-Jews. Who's going to... I made a mistake. I didn't read this right. It says, "Hello, Ben Yerubal Zvul Pikido," not Gidon himself. Ben Yerubal, meaning Avimelech, and Zvul, his clerk. They would serve the people of Chamor, the father of Shechem. Why should we serve him? Who would give over this nation to me? Going to remove Avimelech. They'll stage a coup. Vayomer Avimelech, And Gal said to Avimelech, Rabbi tzva achav v'tzeah. Increase your army and leave, and come out. Vayishma Zvul Sariyas divrei Gal ben Oded vayicharpo. So Zvul, who was Avimelech's clerk in Shechem, heard what Gal said and he got very angry. Vayishlach malachim el Avimelech b'Sarmo. He sent agents to Avimelech in a place called Sarmor, where Avimelech was, Leimor, saying, Hinei Gal ben Evan v'echol b'im Shechema v'inam tzarim esir lecha. Gal ben Evan and his brothers are coming to Shechem and they're causing the city to lay siege against you. V'atokum laila, and now get up at night. Atova m'sheitcha, and you and the people with you, ve'roba sadeh, and lay an ambush in the field. V'yova boker will come out in the morning, kizruach hashemesh, when the sun rises, tashkim, get up early, upashat al-ir, and go out and wage war against the city. And you'll capture by surprise Gal and the people coming with him. You do to him whatever you can. Avimelech rose, and all the people with him, Lila, laid ambush to Shechem, in 4 groups. Gal ben Evan went out, and he stood opposite the door of the city, the gate of the city. Avimelech, the people with him, got up from the ambush. So Gal saw the people. Vayomer el Zvul. Zvul, who was Avimelech's clerk, was walking with Gal, and Zvul, of course, was in on the plan, but Gal was not. Look at all these people coming down from the tops of the mountains. Vayomer love Zvul, so Zvul said to him, the shadow of the mountains you're seeing and thinking that they're people. Vayosef od Gal, the Daber, Gal continued speaking. Vayomer, he said, am yordim mi'im tabur oretz. People coming down from the middle of the earth. Middle of the earth was, I assume, refers to Mount Tabor, which is in the vicinity over there, one of the highest mountains. And other people coming from Elon Monanim, another place. Zvul now said, we got you. Where's your mouth now? I shared Tomar that you said, Mi Avimelech kinavdenu, who's Avimelech that we should serve him. Hello, Zeo Am Asher Ma'asta Bo. These are this nation, Avimelech's army that you denigrated. Say no ato avilachim bo. Go out and try and wage war against them. So Gal did in fact fight with Avimelech. Avimelech pursued him. And Gal fled in front of him. There are many casualties up to the opening of the gate of Shechem. Avimelech was in Arumah. And Zvul sent out the Gal and his brothers from Shechem. That was a fascinating thing, because that's why it seems that he was a kind of a double agent, because after all that is said and done, you figure that you would kill the head of the rebellion. But Zvul, who was Avimelech's clerk, let Gal go. He just sent them away. So, I don't know if he was a double agent exactly, wasn't a double agent, but after Gal had caused all these casualties to occur, he was sent away scot-free. So, in the meantime, Avimelech's still outside the city. Avimelech. Avimelech, the next day, the people are going out of the city and they're telling Avimelech that Gal left and the city is basically defenseless. By Kachasam, he took the people, divided them in 3 heads. By Roba said they laid ambush in the field. He saw the people going out to their work. He rose up against them, came and he destroyed and he killed them. Avimelech and the different sectors of the army which were with him, Pashtu, they spread, and they stood at the opening of the gate of the city to catch any people who might try and flee back to the city. Ushnei Rashim and 2 other sectors of the army, Pashtu Asher Basar, they extended against the people in the field by Akum, and they just killed them. Avimelech fought that city the entire day. V'Koda Seir, and he conquered Shechem. V'es Amesher Ba, and the nation within it, Haragi killed. By Totet Seir, he destroyed the city. By Zer'el Melach, and he planted it with salt. When he planted it with salt, it can no longer be used to be cultivated as a field. By Shmu Kobale Migdal Shechem, so all the people who were in the fortress of Shechem, which was separate from the city, heard, Vayavot Tzriach Beis El Bris, and they came to the tower called Beis El Bris. Now, we're going to stop here for tonight, but the point I wanted to make is, before that, one more point is that Shechem has consistently been, throughout Jewish history, the source of all bad things. Everything bad originates in Shechem. And the reason, this goes back, of course, to Levi and Shimon and Levi's act against the Shechemites, annihilating them when it was not warranted. And therefore, even though they had...
In revenge for Dinah?
Sorry? Yes. They had their...
And they were wrong?
They were wrong. Of course they're wrong.
I thought Yaakov, when he reprimanded them, he was in the wrong.
Dude.
No. So they had a rationalization, but they were wrong.
But he didn't curse their act, he just their anger.
Right. Well, he doesn't want to curse them as people. I mean, they are going to set up tribes in Israel, right?
Right.
So the thing is that as a result of that episode, all sorts of bad things throughout history happened in Shechem. Shechem is what?
There are no exceptions? There are no exceptions?
What do you mean? Does evil originate elsewhere?
No, I'm saying, is there something good coming out of Shechem?
Nothing.
Really? I think I remember reading it.
Nothing.
Well, they're all the good stories, of
Yeah.
course.
The Tzaddik says that there's no such thing as a really bad place.
Oh, okay.
He says it's a very sensitive place. And it's usually that sensitivity leads it in the wrong way.